leader is not here, so should we move on to the next slide? Which I think is...
Hi. So this is Sarah Manheimer and Jason Clark from Montana. And do you want us to just go over our slides? Yeah? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
So our goal from the ERPNMG was just to learn strategies for building our program, since I just arrived here in March, and that's kind of when our data management program began. And writing down our achievements, I felt pretty good. We updated our institutional repository to DSpace 4 so that we could have some data-specific functions like versioning and embargoes. We've done a lot of different outreach, including a partnership with scholarly communication. So we've decided to put our publications and data in the same repository. So she's been a really important partner to me, the librarian. We've done 7 data management consultations and 3 whole data sets in the IR, which compared to Purdue's 100. We're getting there. And we're about to distribute a data census of campus to talk about data storage and publication needs. And we have a brand new web page. So the peer group has been interesting just to think about new ideas and to hear what you guys are all doing. It's been really helpful to see what's worked for other institutions or other ideas. And we're thinking, I would like to continue, I think we would both like to continue sort of talking with one another, and I'm not sure exactly how it would happen. We'd need some sort of schedule of monthly readings or some structured way to be in touch. And our goals for Atlanta are just to get to know you guys, to build a connection, and then to determine those goals for how we can move forward.
One of the things we didn't add to the achievements is there's early work on a prototype application to collect MSU research output to provide leads for Sarah, whom you know Sarah, but also Layla Sturman, who's our scholarly communications librarian, as far as when they might reach out to certain departments based on what certain departments are producing. So if possible, we might demo a prototype in the Atlanta meeting, because we're pretty close to a release on that.
Yeah, and we've emailed 2 people who published last week, and both of them got back to us saying, oh, we might publish data, and we'll definitely publish our publication. So that was cool.
I think we're both looking forward to seeing everybody in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
Great. Thank you, Montana. This is Rita. I apologize for the audio. I did read Peter Rogers' slide, but evidently nobody could hear me. So anyhow, we will move next to Northwestern. The floor is yours.
Hi, I just had to unmute my phone. This is Pamela, and sorry I ended up using 2 slides instead of 1. Our goals were a lot like others. Mostly we wanted to find out where everybody else was in data management services and provision, and to maybe get some ideas from other folks and eventually, maybe with permission, co-opt some of their ideas and get some ideas from other people's, especially training materials and things like that. We feel like we've made a lot of progress in the last 6 months. Since we released our survey of the entire Northwestern University campus data management practices, we think that a lot of our progress have come out of that, because our eScience working group gained a higher profile because we launched that survey. So we started analysis of Northwestern's NSF data management plans, kind of like Purdue has done, but we're only just beginning, and we don't have a data repository. So we can't link DMPs to data repository, but we're thinking about how to implement one and whether we can. We don't think we can through the library, but since our group also has involvement from our IT and research computing, we're hoping that we can do it that way. Our eScience librarian, Kunera, who's not here today, has done lots of presentations at research conferences on campus, student orientations, things like that. We're trying to now build workshops, outreach, and online training modules and resources. And we're trying to figure out how to structure those and how to market them so people come. And one of the most valuable things that we've done is gotten involvement from our Office for Research and Office for Sponsored Research and core facilities. And because of that, we're now involved in discussions on drafting policies for data use agreements for open access data from a number of different federal sources. So the most valuable things for us have been the resources presented by others. Next slide. And so moving forward, what we like to see is a collection of all the stuff that everyone has presented. And looking at other people's slides, I think other people had great ideas too, and that is to maybe, we didn't mention this, but other people's ideas of maybe monthly topics so that we can go more in depth on specific themes would be great. We'd also like people to share readings that they've had in this area, and so finding some sort of way to create a clearinghouse for that would be fantastic. And in Atlanta, I won't be there, but Kunera will be. I agree with others, and that is ways to ensure continued engagement. And I'd also like us to discuss how we can expand the group so that we can pull in more institutions and their ideas and their resources. I think that would be great. And that's it. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Northwestern. I'm speaking on behalf of DLF, but I think we have some of those same ideas in mind as well, and we'll talk about that more in Atlanta. Okay, Arizona, the floor is yours. Okay, we're not hearing you, Arizona, if you're talking. I can just go ahead and summarize your slide. Everyone can see. There's actually two. So your goal is to spread the wealth of data management expertise at the University of Arizona Library. Do you all have audio now? University of Arizona Libraries has achieved the following goals in the past 6 months. Conducted a campus-wide data management survey, had one-on-one meetings with researchers as a result of the survey, and completed the survey report and recommendations. Worked with the Office of Research and Discovery on including data management in the new Research Gateway website. Made presentation to the College of Science and met with the Associate Dean for CALS. And you might want to tell us what CALS is in the chat room. They also gave data management workshop at the Women's Health Research Symposium, and the libraries will be providing formal support for entire research life cycle. They've been thinking about their next steps and future goals. It's been helpful to hear from peers and guest speakers about projects and initiatives. Moving forward, presentations and peer-to-peer discussions that go into more detail than we were able to do during this session. Set several topics up front and have background readings sent out before to spur discussion after the presentation. That's a great idea. For example, implementing data repositories at your campus. How does data services and data visualization integrate into data management services? What can we as a community do to best address these issues at our in-person meeting in Atlanta? They'd like to discuss what will assure continuation of the group, such as what structure and leadership do we need and how to assure more interactivity in the group. Great. All great points and comments there, Arizona. Thank you for that. Okay, University of Illinois, the floor is yours.
Okay, this is Sarah Williams. I hope you can hear me. So kind of our goal for participating in this group was to have a better understanding of what other groups and institutions were doing and how we might be able to learn from those experiences and, you know, in some cases, as others have said, perhaps adopt or actually implement some of those sorts of things here at Illinois. And certainly from the webinars and from other slides that the other group members have presented, we've really heard some interesting ideas that I think we maybe aren't necessarily at the stage where we can implement some of those now, but it's certainly something that we are going to keep in mind that we might be able to make use of in the future. And the as far as suggestions go, I really like some of the other suggestions that the other institutions have already shared. Some of ours, I guess, are a little bit more focused on if this group were to I think maybe the first one here is a little bit more if this group were to either expand with new institutions or if a new group were to come together, was to have like the in-person event at the beginning if possible to facilitate kind of the networking aspect of this, where because many of the people who are involved in this group we don't know ahead of time, and so you know, it would have helped put faces with names and have some informal getting to know you conversations at the beginning, which might have helped, which might help facilitate a little bit of networking, just an idea. And then, yeah, having low barrier networking tools so that, you know, ways to try to encourage more discussion, although I think time is also an issue that is hard to overcome. But anyways, those were just a couple suggestions we had, but I really like some of the other suggestions that other institutions had.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, Mayu, the floor is yours.
Hi, this is Mayu. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so we at the University of Manitoba Libraries, when we joined this peer group, we were hoping to learn from the other institutions what they have done or they are doing in terms of research data services, because we've just started implementing research data services ourselves. For the last 6 months, we have achieved some goals in the infrastructure and education. For the infrastructure, so I, as the research services librarian, have been involved in the pilot of the secure file sharing system that was conducted by our information technology department on campus, and also involved in the launch of the data management consultation group, which is just started it and is led by the our university's research quality management office. Also, our GIS librarian has submitted a proposal for a data visualization studio. Oops. Okay, I'll try to speak up. For the education, we piloted the academic curriculum with our subject librarians in STEM fields. We are, based on the pilot experience, we are planning to use the curriculum in academic to provide training for other subject librarians in health sciences, social sciences, and humanities. I gave graduate students a workshop on data management and open access in September, and I'm planning to give a workshop again in coming January. I've also provided a data management plan template during these workshops with reference to the data-related policies and regulations our researchers in University of Manitoba need to address in their plan of sharing data. We also have new additional goals. We are planning to pilot the data repository system Dataverse, and also planning to conduct a survey of data management needs on campus. And for the survey design, our peer institution, University of Arizona, shared their survey instrument that is informing our assessment activities. And also the webinar we had about assessment was very helpful, informative. And moving forward, we suggest that the peer group will continue maintaining the online forum and even create a listserv to continue discussions about the research data services and then continue sharing our experiences. Also suggest that we can organize peer group alumni meetings at like DLF forum or other conferences like ACRL. We think it's important that we maintain this professional network so that we can continue consulting each other and continue developing the best practices in research data services. And another suggestion is maybe plan like a joint project in the future. And one idea I have is to probably develop like information resources and tools that we could share among the peer institutions. This way we can avoid duplicate efforts in developing information resources. And we can, like each of us could focus on resources specific to the local policies and infrastructure. And at our in-person meeting in Atlanta, I'm hoping that we could come up with more concrete plans for joint projects and collaborations in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayu. Speaking for myself, and I think for the rest of the group, we look forward to the panel that you and other group members, as well as our postdoctoral fellows, are giving at the DLF Forum. So looking forward to that session. Okay, up next is Rochester. The floor is yours.
Okay, so coming into this group, you know, similar to other folks, one of our goals was to just learn what other organizations are doing with respect to eScience. We are also in the process of revising our eScience agenda. Some of the librarians here finished up the initial eScience agenda a little over a year ago, I guess. And we've accomplished quite a lot of it. So we were hoping that this group would give us kind of a foundation for jumping off into the next stage. And I think that it has done that. So over the last 6 months, you know, we've kind of continued to build support for data management. We did some initial workshops last year and have expanded those for this year, making presentations to departments and various groups on campus. We also kicked off our collaborative data repository project with our High Performance Computing Center and kind of formalized our service offerings into like an actual data services center versus just a bunch of people within the library who do data stuff. So the working group has helped us kind of become more aware of where we are in comparison to other institutions. I think we get nervous that we're very behind all the time, but it's helpful to hear, you know, the kinds of things that other folks are working on as well. It's helped us identify areas where we want to improve, especially assessment. I think an area that we will start to look into fairly soon is getting a better handle on just what data management plans are sort of active at this point at our institution. And I'm also interested in trying to track what the outcomes of those data management plans are. So are people actually getting stuff into repositories, whether they're our campus repositories or external, or is this just sort of window dressing, I guess. We've also gotten some great ideas for new services, I think, so long as folks don't mind us copycatting off of you. Going forward at the in-person meeting and beyond, you know, like everybody else said, it would be great to foster kind of ongoing conversations over whatever medium works. Particularly around interest groups or specific topics. I think in part it will be helpful just to have some sort of prompting to check in with each other, just a reminder to continue to collaborate. One thing that we've discussed that we'd like to see happen at the in-person meeting is to share sort of our strengths. I think throughout the webinars, we've all talked a lot about the various things that we're doing. And that's been really helpful, but I think it'd also be helpful for if everybody could sort of come forward with like, this is the thing that we have done really well at our institution. So in addition to kind of collecting resources and knowing what resources are out there, but like also the people who are doing things really successfully in various places. And also, what are the opportunities for further collaboration? The things that we're all starting to think about but aren't quite doing yet. What can we kind of come together to work on into the future? So that's it for us.
Thank you, Kathleen. All great suggestions. Toronto.
Okay, Brenica here from U of T. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, so on behalf of Dylan and Sean, we definitely, I think, had a specific focus when we joined. We are really keen to develop a strategic plan for research data management and actually have something in place at the top level that sort of encompasses all of data services, including RDM. Our goals now haven't really changed. We would say that maybe they've become a little bit more refined as we're moving forward and getting ideas and learning from people. So one thing we've done since is we've definitely solidified both our membership and scope within this working research data management working group that we have formed in our central library system. So we sort of have a formal channel now to build on developing a strategic plan for research data management, and we've definitely started to define tasks on how to achieve our broader goals. So, for example, policies around research data management, joining various initiatives that would help us develop services, that sort of thing. I think our participation, we've definitely benefited in the sense that it's helped us continue conversations, both internally and externally on our campus. We've definitely gotten a lot of insight from you folks in terms of the activities and services and infrastructure that you are all developing or have developed at your institutions. And it's definitely obviously helped us generate ideas and definitely refined our approach and helped us build in terms of developing services and infrastructure. Moving forward, like others have mentioned, the continued online community of involvement would be great. Someone brought up, I can't speak on behalf of my colleagues, but I think it's really great, the suggestion to have something in person at the beginning. I know that we're all strapped in terms of budgets and travel, but I think that sort of personal touch would be really, really excellent. Also, having a resource that sort of extends on the webinars and material that we're introduced to that might also sort of give more of an advanced focus or that builds or generates more discussion based on what's already taken place. And I think in Atlanta, we're looking forward to a lot of things, but one thing would be maybe the exercises and hands-on experience that would definitely be sort of customed in a way that would help us build our strategic planning at our own institution. That's it.
Thanks, Veronica. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the slides from our group, and I'm wondering if any of you have questions or comments for one another. I'm wondering if our guest speaker, Michael, if you're still with us, if there's anything you'd like to comment or any questions you might have. Feel free. You can use the chat window or microphone, phone, whatever you're on. So we'll just pause here for a minute. And I'll say these are all great ideas, and we're definitely taking those into consideration as we move forward. It looks like Sarah is typing something in the chat room. And okay. Sarah says she thinks it was Rochester's idea, but she likes the idea of institutions sharing their strengths. I think that's a great thing for us to do during part of our in-person meeting, and we'll make note of that. And I'll be talking about that in a little more detail in just another minute or two. And you can continue to use the chat window to ask questions or comments while we move on to the housekeeping issues that I have for you all. So some of you have already your consultations have already been completed. Some of you are still in the process with your consultants. So I hope those are working well for you and that you found them or are finding them satisfactory and helpful. I will tell you that the time for the curve tour, that's the visualization facility that many of you signed up for, has been changed from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. because the library doesn't open until 12. So we were just informed of that change a few days ago, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue. We're just pushing the in-person event back from 1:30 to 5:30 p.m. And the schedule and information packet are being finalized this week, and we'll have it out to you next Monday, the 20th. Again, I mentioned that Mayu and Kathleen and some other group members, as well as postdoctoral fellows, will have a session on the peer network experience during the forum. It's, I believe, on Monday. And Mayu, if you could tell us, or Louisa, tell us the time in the chat window. I want to say it's 1 o'clock, but I'm not looking at the schedule at the moment. Again, we do have a hashtag, and I do encourage you all to use it during the forum, if you're staying for the forum, as well as during our in-person event. And we'd really like to see some more conversation on Twitter. And again, we talked, several of you mentioned having an online community. Right now, that venue is Clear Connect for you all to have discussions, share resources, that kind of thing. It's not the easiest system to use, we know that, but until we have something else in place, that's what we'll use. And I see Louisa typing. She's presented the link to the schedule. I will say this on behalf of DLF, and Louisa, feel free to chime in. One thing we'd like to do moving forward is to provide you all, this group, with what we're calling a professional home under the DLF umbrella as a DLF group. And if you could just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat window about that idea. If you look at the DLF website, you'll see that there are already some groups that kind of fall under the DLF umbrella. And that's one way that we can provide you all with a professional home, again, for lack of a better word, and also to keep building out the community of practice, and which is what we intend to do. So I'm looking forward, I think, as everyone is, to our in-person event and discussing these ways that we can move forward and expand our group. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Feel free to use the chat window, your microphone. Postdoctoral fellows, do you have anything to add? I'm going to turn this question over to Louisa. Louisa, Chris, Jen, and Cindy are asking about the curve tour. Can you give us a little more information on that? Yeah, do you need logistical information or just on the tour itself? Both, they say. Louisa, if folks want to still sign up for the tour, is there still room for additional people to join that tour? Okay, great. Thank you. If you haven't signed up for the tour and you would like to, please send Louisa an email so that she can get you added to the list. And her email address, I'll put it in the window here. Yes, and then there's a link to the site itself. Okay, anything else? I will just say only the second half of this session was recorded because of Michael's preference not to be recorded. So I will post a link to it in Clear Connect as I have been. And I want to just say on behalf of Clear and DLF, thank you all for being a great group and sharing with one another and being active participants. And we look forward to seeing you all in Atlanta.